further. So derivative. So let me explain this concept. Take about 5 minutes to explain this. And so look at this this figure here, and let's say that we are interested in finding out. There are these points on the x-axis. You can see C, E, D, and B. And let's say we are interested in finding out the rate of change of x, rate of change of f at x equal to c, x equal to e. Okay, so what we are interested in finding out is at what rate does f change per unit change in x when x is at e. Okay, that's what we want to find out. So one crude way of doing that is that you take 2 points on either side of E. So let's say A and B, right? A and B, let us say, are equidistant from E on two different sides, left and right sides, and look at the value of F at those 2 points, right? So take the difference in the value of F, right, delta F, which is S minus R here, right? Divide that by the delta X. And delta X is what? It is B minus A, right? So that you know probably already that it is the slope of this line segment AB, right? That is the slope of this line segment AB. AB. Right? Now, this would be a rather crude approximation to calculating the rate of change of f with respect to x when x is at e, right? Why would it be a crude approximation? Because we can see here that f is changing. It's a curved function, right? It's not a straight line. So we are not sure whether at point E, the rate of change of f with respect to x, that rate would be same as the slope of this line segment AB, right? We're not sure of that, and therefore a better approximation would be. So let me rub this off. Okay, a better approximation would be that we take a narrower range, right? So think of, so let me again change the color. Let's move slightly inward, closer to E, okay? So think of these 2 points, C and D. The interval C and D is narrower than interval AD, right? And look at the value that the function takes at these 2 points, right? So those points on the curve, right? C and D, capital C and capital D, and the values that the function takes there are u and t. Okay, so delta fx by delta x, right, when the interval delta x is d minus c, that is u minus t by d minus c, right? So difference in the values that the function takes at those 2 points, which is u minus t, divided by the delta x, which is d minus c, the interval. Now this again is an average, kind of average change of f with respect to x. This might be a better approximation than the previous one. This is the slope of this line CD here, right? Why is it a better approximation? Because interval CD is a narrower interval around point E than the previous interval AB, right? But by the same logic, you can say that we can improve further, right? So let me again rub all this off. And how can you improve further? You can improve further by narrowing this interval even more, right? You move even further closer to E, and you keep doing that until you are extremely close to E, right? So think of an interval around E which is so small that you can say that delta x tends to 0, and that's what we've written here, right? Limit of delta fx by delta x at x equal to c as delta x tends to 0. This is what we've written here, right? This is what is called the instantaneous change in f with respect to x, right? So this is giving you the rate of change of f per unit change in x when you are right at x equal to c, right at that point, right? And this is also written as df by dx at x equal to e, and this is called the derivative of f at x equal to c. And intuitively, you can probably argue that this, just like the previous expressions, were the slope of these line segments A, B, and CD, this one would be the slope of this tangent that you will get at x equal to E, right? Tangent to this curve of f. So this is what we have here, the instantaneous change in f per unit change in x. This is how we define the derivative, let us say at x equal to E, and this is how we write it, limit as delta x tends to 0 of delta f by delta x while we are at x equal to C, x equal to E, sorry. And based on what we have discussed, I'm sure you can appreciate that we are talking about a very small interval delta x, right? So you could think of the width of delta x interval as h, right? You could think of a very small interval on this graph, right? A very small interval around E whose width is h, right? So as you move from E plus h by 2, and h is a very small positive number, right? Very close to 0. As you move from E minus h by 2 to E plus h by 2, right? That is what delta x is. What is this ratio, delta f by the width of the interval? That is how we define the derivative. You could also simplify it and write it this way. Since h tends to 0, we could even think of moving from x equal to E to x equal to E plus h. H is close to 0, right? So it doesn't matter whether you move from E minus h by 2 to E plus h by 2, or whether you move from E itself to E plus h, right? In both the cases, the width of delta x remains h, and it remains very small, so that we can say h tends to 0, and we can write it this way as well. So
Rahul,
yes.
one student wants to know just a recap on what is E and what is H.
What is E and what is SH? Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, so in this whole discussion, um, uh, E is this point here. Was we are basically interested in finding delta f by delta x while we are at x equal to E. That's what we wanted to do, right? While you are at point E, what is the rate of change of f per unit change in x, right? And that's what point E is here. So this is how we write it, df by dx, and this is the derivative, and we also write it as f prime E, derivative of f at E, and we have seen that this is the slope of the tangent to the curve of f at x equal to C, x equal to E, sorry, right? And now, so far we were looking at a particular point E. Now, how about a general expression for any arbitrary point x, right? So by the similar logic, you can write the derivative of f at any arbitrary point x as df by dx as the limit as h tends to 0 as you go from x to x plus h, right? So compare these two expressions here.